Okay, so on the way to Mum's, and again I'm trying to do odd different videos as often as I can. So here's my tale of trying to get a specific independent fibre optic line into my mum's place, so we can have, with her permission, a permanent 24-hour a day digital video camera pointing directly at her, nobody else. And so we can, no matter where we are in the world, around here going shopping, or if I'm flying or wherever it might be, she can say my name and the camera switches on and I can speak to her direct, and it calls my telephone wherever I am. So we have complete and utter access both ways. I'm going to do the same for her, and I can operate the camera as well in a small area facing her. So then, the conversation started with a provider of fibre optic about 4 months ago. And after constant calls of trying to figure out the deal, I eventually got it sorted. And then they, because it's my mother's property for data protection, I need to speak to her. So I've constantly given them dates and times when I'm going to be with my mother, and they always telephoned at completely a different time and a different date. After 3 months later, I eventually got it so I'm going to spend the entire day with her. I'm going to cancel everything else I'm supposed to do. I'm not going to move. Eventually they called 4 hours late. Got it sorted. The entire conversation between me, them and my mother took about 2.5 hours. Eventually they agreed. They then 2 weeks later got a date sorted with an engineer to come out to check what needs to be done. The engineer came out. Also, by the way, I got my name added to the system, so when anyone telephones they can speak to me and they give me a PIN number and all the rest of it, so that was good. An engineer came out, looked at the property and says, what we know is that this property is the only one in the area that doesn't have the right connectors onto the building. Every single one around it, all of them all have the correct, except for this one building, which means that we're going to have to come out another day with different engineer to get it done. And there's an exchange box inside the building it has to go. I mean, this whole story went on. Not my pay grade, not my knowledge, so vague understanding. Next, after multiple different conversations with different groups of the supplier of the fibre optic connection, they said they had to send some routers or something, so some new router came in, which is exactly the same as the old one, but it doesn't matter, we got that also in a box, so we've got to remember that part. Then I started to get messages saying this new group's on the way, the new this, new that, everything's good, so if you have any problems please contact us. On the Monday before the Thursday that they were due, I got an email stating that they're going to be coming on the Thursday, please ensure the router's ready. And then it was the first time it stated, if there is anything that due to the engineer's reports, we're going to have to drill a hole into the wall, and for this you need written permission off your landlord. Well, it's my mother's property, a specially built property for a person with her issues, to which it's owned by the council. So then I have to contact the council myself. Now, to give you a bit of backstory, two backstories. The first one is about 10 years ago, when my mother wanted a specific type of digital aerial just put on top of the building. The planning permission through the council took 9 months to put one aerial in. Now, for this, it's going to require drilling through a wall, and this is according to the engineers when they came to see me. This is where the conversation gets really annoying for us. I said, what work actually has to be done? This is the first engineer visit. He said they're going to need to drill a hole into the back wall, okay, which is the one facing outside. And he said, because of the way this local area has been put together, the main connection hub is across the road. So they need to pull out the manhole covers, drill under the road, then put it into the building. But it's not just that, it has to go through the main building hub, which is on a box inside the lobby. So I have to drill through to there, into the box, and into the box it has to be drilled through into what's effectively the spare room, ran through another wall, drill into there to go to where the outside connection point is, because I don't understand. So that means through 2 walls and under the road. And I says, unfortunately, says I'm no architect, And I said, unfortunately, I'm no civil engineer, so I've no idea what you're going to be doing with the roads and put it all together, the documents. And he said, don't worry, he says, on my report, when I go back, I'll explain all this so they're fully aware of it, and watch out for communications from your supplier, and I'll say what we're doing and when we're due. So then, now, on the Monday before the Thursday they were due, on one of the emails it stated I had to contact the council, to which I then spent 2.5 hours on chat trying to explain this. But at the end of it all, supposedly my account number, which I copied and pasted off the email they sent me, and my PIN number, which worked before, no longer work and I'm not listed. I then, because I was doing this with my mother in case they wanted to call, I then had to go away to take care of somebody else. I went home, and then when I was home, I then made a telephone call. At the telephone call, the PIN number suddenly worked, and my name suddenly was on the account, and they were constantly saying about, don't worry, the engineer's due in and they can fix it all. I explained the situation about, you're going to have to drill through the road, close the road, go through 3 different walls, and I says, and you expect me to contact the council to do that on your behalf? I says, this is going to be years of work. I have no architectural structural information. I says, I have no idea what you engineers really want to do. I'm not a civil engineer, so I know what's going on with the roads and the structure and the closing. I says, this has absolutely nothing to do with me. And I says, it's taken me 4 months to get to this point, and only 4 days before someone's due in, you're telling me that I have to get all this permission. And I says, and I was told by the engineer that you guys should be doing this, so why am I doing all your work? I says, this should be a year of my life, even if I was qualified to try and actually get this done. And the final line was, so would you like to cancel it? I'm like, well, yeah, because this is just like an absurd amount of time for something so simple as putting an internet line in. So I said, okay, no problem, we'll cancel it. The next thing they said to me was, you were sent a router, you'll need to give that back to us. And I went, okay, so how do I do that? And they says, you have to go to your nearest name of the shop or the company, I won't say who they are, and then give it into them. And I says, well, the nearest one's about an hour's drive from where I am. And I says, and I don't actually have a car. I don't have a car on purpose. And I says, it's a good 3 hours to get to somewhere where that particular branded shop is. So he says, okay, we'll send you a bag. And then all you do is put the router in the bag, and then you can post it to any post office. Great, post office at the bottom of the road, I'll do that, no problem at all. 40 minutes later, of silence on the phone, he gets back to me and says, right, the bag's been sorted. And I says, okay, do I have any confirmation that this has actually been cancelled? And went, yeah, you'll receive it in an email. This is now over a week later. I've had no email saying it's been cancelled. The engineers actually turned up on the day, even though it was cancelled. 12 of them. I explained the situation. They laughed and says, great, early finish for us. And they left. Then constantly I'm getting emails and SMSs saying, we've heard you wasn't in, we heard you wasn't able to get this done. And it was almost like it's semi-blaming me for it. And it keeps on saying, this is your last opportunity to get your fibre optic line in because of your blur. And so it's all pointing fingers at me, and as though I did cancel it, and this bag still hasn't turned up. So in other words, again, why do these major corporations never seem to make major amounts of money recently? It's because they're a complete mess. And this is just one line to put into one building in the middle of a town. Craziness. Speak to you soon.